What is the most common lie about sex that most people still believe in? Story 1. If you're intimately active with a partner, you won't do solo fun anymore. It's like this: just because I won a lifetime supply of steak does not mean I'm going to stop eating hamburgers. The problem lies when I have a secret hamburger at, say, 6 o'clock, and then at 6:30, somebody starts grilling a steak because by then I'd still be full and might not want to be in the mood for steak. I know that's a weird analogy, but let's put it another way. Sometimes you just ain't in the mood and your partner is not hitting that sweet spot. Wouldn't you want to just do it yourself rather than pretend? Likewise, your partner knows she can herself better than you could. Besides, sometimes I find it hot just watching her herself. And at that point, it gets cool when you both finally admit that you do it and you just start doing it together when you're too lazy to have some fun. Or maybe use that as your pregame. I think it's a fun part of our intimate life. Just like how sometimes you might want to do a certain position, sometimes you just want to rub one out on your partner. And quite frankly, I think it'd just be weird to stop having solo fun even if you're getting good regular fun together. Story 2. Everyone has physical relations for the first time in high school, and if you don't, you're weird or unwanted. I hate that you're most expected to have it in high school or as a teenager, and it's even creepier to me that adults almost encourage it. But no, you can't object to this mindset or else you're a quote-unquote snowflake. I have never even kissed anyone before. I'm young, but I feel like rather than letting the cravings for pleasure take over and get me into some trouble I can't get over easily, I must remain conscious. Right now, I'm working as hard as possible to score high on studies and gain as much information as I can in social psychology and developmental psychology. I have already gone through most of the physics and aspire to be a particle physicist. Maybe, but I also have 2 years of experience in coding Python and Java and a bit of C++. I am healthy, but not fit. I have the responsibility to keep the emotional fatigue of my sisters who are younger than me since, almost everyone suffers from depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and procrastination at this age, and I don't want them to feel lonely under such conditions. Right now, my sole goal is to be financially successful enough to repay my parents and help them complete all of their dreams. My dad loves Porsche and I want to get him one soon. My mom just wants to be with me. I have never really used social media because my parents didn't allow it until I was old enough, so probably thanks to that, I've been saved from wasting my time and having an existential crisis. Story 3. That lady bits are all the same general size and only men have a great degree of size variation. This is so untrue. There are small, medium, and large, men's and women's naughty bits. None are good or bad, better or worse than others. Some match better than others, and that's pretty much it. And that the size of one's lady bits isn't an indicator of how much physical relations they have had. Also, the size changes throughout the month. I have a hormonal IUD, so I don't bleed, but there is a very noticeable cycle. During cycle time, I can put my feet behind my head and my partner can right away. But during the off-season, OMG, please start slow and work your way in. And no, surprise, I'm coming in all the way, moves. My lady bits is way more shallow and ouch. Men, track your girls' cycle. You'd be surprised what benefits come from it. At X time of the month, she wants to be ravaged. At Z time of the month, she needs to be treated like a flower. Not to mention that a woman's naughty bits can increase in size when may not happen to some women, but it can vary a couple of inches every time a physical relationship is being had. Lots of different factors can contribute. Story 4. That men are always ready to go and women, well, if you blink, you missed it. Source, my parents. That's what they told me, also what all their favorite sitcoms told me. I hate this misconception so much. I have had girls get legitimately upset the one day I didn't feel like it. If I acted like that towards a woman who didn't want to have fun, I would be a huge a-hole. Normally, I'm all for it, but God forbid I just got home from my grandpa's funeral and wasn't up for it. Funny story, back in 2005, I was sharing an apartment with a few friends. We lived downstairs and a couple was living upstairs above us whom we saw occasionally but never heard anything from. So it was probably 2 a.m. on the night in question and everybody was asleep. We start hearing them argue and it gets louder and louder and louder and pretty soon you start hearing things get thrown around in their apartment and they're full on screaming at each other. By this point, all my roommates were awake and everybody had this whole "what do we do" look on their faces. So I say, screw it, I'll go up there and just knock on the door. I gotta work tomorrow and this is getting way out of hand. So I zip up the steps, and my girlfriend follows me, peering over my shoulder. Knock, knock, knock. The man swings open the door and just says, "Please take this crazy witch with you." He then gestures over towards the kitchen where she's standing, bare with a chair in her hand, ready to WWF smash him with it. She's hammered and is mad. I won't her. I gotta get up in 3 hours to work a 12-hour shift, and I'm exhausted from dealing with this. She then throws a chair at him and starts screaming, "Why won't you just me?" I can't think of anything else to say besides, "You wanna crash on our couch?" He says, "Nah, bro, she will just go down there instead." Sorry, dude. We went back downstairs and made coffee. Note to self, learn how to dodge flying objects. It might just come in handy in the future. Story 5. That men are always up for it and they can smash anything that moves. Sleep is now my number one priority. I've had girls wake me up trying to have some fun and I just can't give in. Sorry to break it to you, sweetheart, but when I was young, I woke up and my house was on fire and went back to bed. Your lady bits is not worth waking up for. I grew up really poor and lived in a trailer. One night when I was young, an orange light came from the hallway. I slept right in line with the door and I could just look up and see down the hallway. When I did, it was all on fire. I don't know how my two brothers didn't wake up, but I was just too tired to care, so I just laid back down and closed my eyes. And to the best of my knowledge, I am still alive and the fire was extinguished during my slumber. Turns out my mom was drying clothes in a microwave oven because we didn't have a dryer and caught the hallway on fire. I don't know what she used to put it out though. Wait a minute, this dude slept through a fire? I would have run out screaming like a little girl. Do you enjoy watching these kinds of videos? If you do, please do hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Thanks for watching. Story 6. That the size of a man's junk either matters or doesn't. Neither is the absolute truth. People have preferences. That's how humans work. My girlfriend likes that I'm below average, but I know several women who wouldn't like that and some who wouldn't care either way. Just be honest with what you are and find someone who's happy with it. They're out there. Also, even preferences might evolve. Something you liked at one point isn't locked in forever. A friend told me that she experienced both sides of the spectrum. Either way, it also depends on the person, experience, pregame, etc. But size does matter if the person is very selfish. Story 7. That status is equivalent to virgin status and a whole bunch of other nonsense. Not only does the absence of a mean nothing, neither does the presence of one. There are virgins with ruptured and non-virgins with intact. It literally means nothing. I have no idea why people are so obsessed with this. In many of the countries that put this whole nonsense forward, there are women having surgery to restore their before getting married. Story 8. That the larger the size of the man's naughty bits, the better the physical relations. Do you know how painful it is when it's just too big? God damn it, it hurts. Like holy hell, I felt like I was on my period afterward. And if it's big enough, you can't even have PIV fun at all. I've got a friend like that, and his is beyond massive. A lot of the time when he was getting with a girl, they'd end up not doing it because they just physically couldn't. And he could very rarely be anything except gentle. Lube is important for big dudes. I learned that the hard way. Let me tell you, turning on the lights after having fun and seeing each other after is horrifying, especially if you know you aren't on your period. I guess bigger isn't always better. Story 9. Physical relations are easy for everyone and people just have it whenever, however, with whoever. But no, a lot of people suffer from health and emotional problems and medications, and it can be just as difficult as any other aspect of life, even for young people, unfortunately. Mental health and emotional problems are an enormous barrier for me regarding intimacy. It's actually really bad. I have clinical depression. I also have issues with emotional blunting. I basically have zero drive for physical relations. I do have solo fun, not because I'm turned on, but because it's something for me to do and makes me feel good, even for a little bit. But actually getting turned on, wanting somebody, basically never happens. It really sucks too. I want to be able to be intimate with somebody, but I worry that it's never going to happen due to my issues and my struggles with trusting others. Story 10. That physical relations means love. You can love someone deeply and never really have physical relations with them. Conversely, you can think someone is the most terrible person on the planet and still want to smash them. You know, I think there's something else going on with the conversation that comes up around intimacy, love, and passion, and I'll try to explain. There's this common refrain from movies and TV that men are always talking about physical relations, why we're not having it, how much we're having, etc. All men are about physical relations themselves, the act, and nothing else. But I don't think that's true. I hear many men talking about passion, about their partners not being interested or intense about them, not having that fire that used to be there. And I hear women often say that the feeling is unsustainable, a fantasy. But when couples talk together, it's so hard to express all that. It's all in the eye of the beholder. Fire can be a low sizzle or a towering inferno. What one person feels inside, experiences, and what they express can be totally different. There's no real common ground. So we turn to physical relations. It, for the most part, is a specific action. It has a beginning and an end, and it can be counted, quantified, rated, and judged. When you're arguing about feelings of passion and hunger, each person can say, I have it, I'm doing it, my fire's normal, it should be enough for you. How do you tell someone you love that their low embers aren't enough heat, especially when they look inside and see a normal, steady campfire? I think fewer people think physical relations means love than you might think. It's just one of the truly quantifiable things that signals a level of passion. Story 11. Why do some people think that a woman having fun with 100 men will make her loose, but a woman having fun 100 times with one man will not? Neither of which is true, of course. Loose was originally supposed to mean she had loose morals, and the term loose or loose woman got misconstrued as meaning loose lady bits over time. This is by far the stupidest one that I still hear from men today. The sheer absurdity of that logic demonstrates how immature men are as a whole and how oppressed women are with their desires. A woman who wants to have fun with multiple partners is her business. Same with a man. I still remember the first time I heard that ridiculous lock versus key BS and was stunned to learn people can be that stupid. The first time that I heard about that lock and key thing, I was confused because I always thought it was just about an actual lock and key. Story 12. That if your boyfriend turns you down, it's because you're suddenly quote-unquote disgusting. Men are allowed to say no too, and guilt-tripping someone after they do so is coercion and not suddenly okay because you're a woman. Nobody, regardless of gender, needs a valid reason to not have intimate fun. Ever. No is reason enough. Period. End of discussion. No room for debate. It is never an obligation no matter what situation you're in, who you're with, what gender or sexuality you are. Nothing. It's extremely important to the health of a relationship. If one person in the relationship literally never wants to do it, that is a problem that should be addressed. This idea that in a relationship, someone can say no as much as they want and you have to be supportive and act like everything is just peaches and rainbows is just as toxic and makes people feel guilty for feeling unsatisfied with the amount of physical relations they have. It goes without saying you don't try to force it on someone or do anything that would hurt them, but it can definitely warrant a discussion. If my partner doesn't want to do it one night, that's fine. If she doesn't want to have physical relations for 2 nights, that is fine. If I haven't done it with my partner in a week, that's fine. If I haven't had fun with my partner in 6 months with 0 reasons other than just no, well, that could be a serious problem that needs to be addressed. There is some room for debate on this, though. Story 13. It always has to be a spontaneous thing where you look into her eyes, she looks into yours, and you share this unconscious moment, and then you both sprint off to the bedroom, tearing your clothes off on the way. Sure, that happens, and it's nice, but when you're bogged down with life, work, kids, plans, etc., those moments where you're both in the mood at the same time can almost never overlap. There's absolutely nothing wrong with scheduling it when you're in a long-term relationship or in marriage. In a lot of cases, it actually helps a partner with the lower drive. Sometimes people need a minute to get themselves in that mindset to where they're comfortable, so knowing when they'll need to get into that mindset can make things easier. It sounds lame, but think about it when you're dating. Once you're far enough along in the relationship, it pretty much becomes a given that the date will probably end in bedroom fun. So really, when you're dating, you're scheduling it. You're just being coy and not saying out loud that's what you're actually doing, but you both know that's essentially what's going on. Once you live together and have been with each other a while, all it is just dropping the pretense. And hey, you could go out on a date beforehand if you can get rid of the kids. If you have a partner with a much lower drive than you, maybe sit them down and tell them, having fun X times a week would make me really happy. Could we make that a regular thing on certain days? One thing I've found is that trying to get them to have fun right now, the second you have the inclination, generally doesn't work out too well. But asking them if you can have fun sometime in the next few days works out better. Anticipating it can be pretty sexy too. Story 14. That the pull-out method is a good form of birth control. I had a high school teacher who said the pull-out method is one method of birth control that I favor and has worked well for me. The next slide was of him and his 9 kids. So if you want to use this, then use that method as a few will get through. Otherwise, just use a rubber. Hi, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you made it this far, I'm sure you're also going to enjoy people share the one lie they've stuck with that they'll probably never confess. Story 5 is so messed up. I'll see you in that video, and thank you for watching this one.